Greetings, everybody. My name is the Sab Man, and I'm here to tell you a tale of horror that happened to me only a few years ago. One night, my friends and I were feeling particularly antsy, and we didn't have anything really to do. So we started speaking of ideas that might conjure up some good times. Somebody mentioned that there was an old abandoned house way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's said to be haunted. So we all piled in my friend's van, and we drove out there. On our way out there, finally off the main highway, we started going through a very rural area. The forest got dense, and more dense, and more dense as we went in. It was starting to get a little scary, but that's what we were after. We started making jokes about who was most afraid. Finally, we pull up at the house. There's no light except that of a crescent moon. It was so dark. We had flashlights, and that was it. We walked up to the front porch. It was all dilapidated. It wasn't even safe to walk on, but we went on anyway. And then said, "Who's gonna open the front door?" Everybody looked at each other and kind of cringed. So I said, "I'll open it." I walked up to the door, jiggled the handle a little bit, pulled, and the door swung open. I walked inside and said, "Come on, it's not scary, come on in." So we all walked inside the house. Everything was covered in dust and cobwebs. There wasn't any furniture on the floor. There was nothing. Just a bunch of empty liquor bottles and roaches on the floor. So we went through the house, checking everything out, looking around, and then somebody said, "Let's go upstairs." We went up the stairs and they creaked with every last step. We finally managed to get to the top. There was a hallway with 4 doors and a closet at the very end. There was no door on the closet, just an empty little space. So I said, "Everybody take a room." Since there were 4 of us, it seemed to make sense. I took the first door on the right, and my friends went into the other doors. As I opened the door, the creak was horrifying. It sounded like something out of a horror movie. But I went in. There was an old bed frame and a box spring. I looked around. Didn't seem to be all that scary, just ominous looking. So I decided to go and seek out if my friends had seen anything else. So I went into the room across the hall. My friend was sitting there on a bed, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, anything good in here?" He just shook his head and said, "Nah, man, nothing. I said, "Well, let's go see if the others found anything." So we went to the next door, and our other friend was standing in there. She was standing in the corner for some unknown reason. We just looked at her and said, "Hey, are you okay?" She turned around with a sinister-looking grin on her face and said, "Yeah, everything's fine." She just freaked us out a little bit, that was all. So we said, "Let's go across the hall, see if there's anything in the last room." We walked across the hallway, and as we entered the door, we saw our other friend standing there. Just standing there as the other girl was. We said, "Hey, is everything okay?" He turned and looked at us and said, "Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's just fine." He seemed a little different. So we dismissed it, and we said, "Well, I wonder if there's an attic in this place." Everyone's like, "No, let's not go in the attic. It's probably not safe." So we didn't go in the attic. I said, "Well, what about the basement?" "Let's check out the basement." We went down into the basement. The smell was unreal. It was like nothing I ever smelled in my life. In fact, I can't even describe it. It wasn't a deathly smell. It wasn't a pungent smell. It was just a weird odor. Something that I have never experienced before in my life. I can't tell you what it was like. As we ventured down, we noticed there was on the floor, laid out in chalk, an inverted pentagram. Now, the inverted pentagram is the satanic variety, not the regular pentagram, which is a symbol of protection. Nope, this was definitely satanic. There were black candles at every corner of the star, and there were upside-down crosses painted in red on the walls, and there were carcasses, forest creatures, and they weren't recent. They were old, just bones. I said to my friends, we need to get out of here, and we need to leave right now. They all agreed. As we went up the stairs, the door slammed in our faces, and we were trapped with no escape. We started to panic. I thought I was going to lose my mind. Then my friend says, it's an old door, we can bash it down. So that's what happened. We bashed down the door, and we got out of there extremely quickly. We piled into the van. The van would not start. The battery was dead. So we got out, and we stood around, pulled out cell phones, but there was no service. There was no one around for miles. What are we gonna do? We're gonna have to walk out of here and find help. So we started walking back towards the highway. I couldn't tell you how long it was, but it was miles and miles. We were walking down the old dark road, and we felt we were being followed. So we began to backtrack to see if we could find out who was following us. There was nobody there. There was nobody. No sign of anybody. No, nothing. So we decided to start walking forward again. Again, we felt the same eyes on us. We knew something was very wrong. So we found ourselves back at the house, scared, didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do. We were so afraid. I didn't think we were going to make it out alive. So we decided to wait until the sun came up so we could go and find help. So we all nestled in a comfortable place in the back of the van. And as we're all laying there trying to get a little bit of sleep, the van starts to rock back and forth violently. Everybody was screaming. Terror was making us out of our minds. Then all of a sudden it stopped. We all ran outside to see what was going on. There was nothing there. My friend, who had seemed not himself when he entered the room earlier, started to laugh and laugh and laugh. Soon it turned into a terrible, unnatural laugh. And he started kicking and flailing, screaming, this horrible scream. We pinned him down. He was going crazy. It seemed like he was possessed. It was an unholy terror. I never saw anything like it in my life. We tried to help him, but he kept biting and scratching at us. We had no idea what to do. Just at that moment, someone came from the back of the house. It was a big man, and he walked towards us. We all froze. We knew this had to be the end of us. The man walked closer and closer. Closer he came. Then he spoke. Are you kids in trouble? Do you need help? We said our friend's sick. We need to get him to a hospital. He looked at him and said he needs no hospital. Puzzled, we asked him, what's wrong with him? The man said, he is possessed. The man took out a cross, placed it on his forehead, and said something in Latin. My friend just kept flailing and flailing and flailing. Soon, blood poured out of his eyes and mouth, and the man kept chanting in Latin, louder and faster, louder and faster. It was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Then a huge black mass appeared over my friend, and it disappeared into the wilderness. My friend just laid there, motionless. It's like he was dead. He was dead until we performed CPR on him and revived him. He had no recollection of what had happened. The man said, you need to get out of here and you need to leave right now. We told him about the dead battery. He wasn't surprised, but he said, go try it again. So we went and tried it again, and the van started up like normal. We got out of there as fast can be, and we never returned. It was months before any of us spoke of this. To this day, that night brings me chills. I'll never go anywhere near there again.